In this video, I'm going to talk about something I mentioned in the last video, or number video that might be listed as part 6. Okay. Oh, yeah. And it's about identity. Okay. People who have been abused. Well, I'm using myself as an example. I can't say that across the board for about anybody, but this is my story, so I'm going to use myself as, of course, example of this. And it's about self-identity. It's about knowing who you are, what you are, and all that. Now, in that video, I said that I disagree with something that's in the DSM, or what I really meant is what some people put out there, like as though they're blaming the person for having this problem with their identity. It's in the way they state it, and they shouldn't, is to put the blame on the victim. Seriously. So I wanted to make that correction. I'm not saying that DSM is saying that. I'm saying that some people will put out there that this is like their translation, or they're blaming the victim, okay, for having a problem with their identity. Now, I want to say this. Is it that they have a problem of knowing who they are, but are people constantly taking it away from them? Okay? Now, you might get a clue about why I have such a pet peeve about people who are always stealing people's ideas, or stealing their thunder. They're copycats. Okay, why I have such an issue, and I've done video after video. I think it was actually one of my first videos over 5 years ago that ever was even hinted at this topic, was about copycats. Okay. Now, in that video that I mentioned, was probably going to be part 6, I mentioned that my dad, it was going to be about the golden child. I mentioned that my dad tried to make me the golden child, and I refused, and then he tried to make me the hero of the family. Then any of my accomplishments he took as his own. Somehow made him all his own accomplishments. And but that wasn't the only person, and it wasn't just family that did this kind of thing either. This is what I want to talk about. This kind of thing. Now, as you know, when you're young, you are, growing up. It's closer you to get to when you are on your own. You are trying to figure your life out in various stages in life. Seriously, and ongoing in your life too. Trying to figure out, your own goals, your own, what you want to think about, then how you see things. Your growth. It's growth. Now, some people, imagine you're doing this. Let's go back to say you're a teenager, and you're trying to decide if you're going to go to college, and if so, what college or university, and what are you going to major in, when you get to that part, and what do you want to be in life, instead of, the young kids will think that too. What do they want to be in life? But say you're at the stage now where you really need to make a decision. What do you want to do with your life? And you're going to be outside of the family home. Now you're going to be on your own. And while you're going through that stage, you're still living at home. And anytime you come up with what you want to do, what you like, what you think about, somebody, another sibling, or maybe a cousin, something like that, they hear you mention it, and they steal it. They steal your idea. Or they, usually it's that they steal it. Somehow, some way, they make it their own. And then later on toss it aside, but they've made it their own. So if you were to tell anybody else, yeah, what would you look like? The copycat. So where was I? I was talking about when somebody steals your identity, and you're growing up, and you're trying to find your way in the world, where you're going to go, what are your goals, and then they take it as their own. They, and basically trash it for you. Eventually, maybe you'll learn not to talk to them, and I'm not blaming the victim, but you do. Maybe you'll learn after that one time. But these are people who will continue. If it's family or something like that, they will continue. If they get even an inkling of a thought, that's what they're going to do. Somehow ruin it. Somehow make it their own. Because they like to be that center of attention. The people that I have known, I've mentioned that I think of them as narcissistic histrionic blend. I'm not diagnosing anybody. It's just behavior seemed that way to me. I could be wrong. Read the disclaimer. And this video is for adults only. But Yeah, that's a bad thing. And this is basically the story of my life. I'm serious. There are some people in my world that, like I've said in that last video, I went no contact 7 years ago this month, could be this day, with my family, mainly any of them. Okay. But if they get an idea, somehow you can hear from someone else of anything, and that was before then and since then, they're going to make it their own. Such as me going no contact with them. Yes, flat out stating, you do not contact me, none of you, ever again. So they make it their deal. See? Like they were the ones to do that. Yeah. So just imagine, if you're a person, a young, say, teenager, young 20s, whenever it is, and somebody does, people do that, constantly taking from you and making it their own. Okay, you might, this is your identity, this is what you like, this is what you want to do, but with all that pressure from others that, you're young, that pressure from others, like if you were to say it, then somebody would say, well, you're stealing their ideas. You're the copycat then, suddenly. But even though you're not, to the outsiders you would be. That you're not smart enough to decide, or you're not creative enough, whatever it is, to decide for yourself what you want to do. You have to take it from somebody else. See? And so they work it. They want the attention on them. No matter what way they can get it. It doesn't matter. They're going to try to get it. And so like I say, that can happen, or it could even be that they put down whatever you like to you, to everybody around, make you look like you're stupid for liking that. I had one of my sisters actually tell me when I was working on, it was before I added a double major to my bachelor's. I was studying psychology, and she said, well, you need to just give that stuff up and get a real job. Yeah, just think about that whole sentence. Oh my goodness, the whole sentence is wrong, but you see what I'm saying? They're going to put it down. They don't want you to, have any attention. They didn't even know what my master's was in, or that I was even, continuing my education past the, they didn't even know what my bachelor's was in. They didn't know what sociology meant. Okay, my master's, because sociology was my second major. They didn't know anything about my education, because they didn't want to. They did not want anybody to know. Okay, also. Okay, so basically, that people like this, they know what they like, they know what they want and what they wanted along this line, but with all that abuse, with all that people stealing from them and, making them look like they were the would have been the copycats, they may be overwhelmed and not, basically, anytime somebody asks, or somebody who's not like that, they don't remember what to say. Remember who knows this or who knows that, who was told that it was the original idea of the person who was stealing it from them. You see what I'm saying? So they might just kind of shut down with that, with maybe even developing their identity. Okay, or changing it, because there's constantly somebody stealing from it. I do know how this is. I really do. And like I said, this is my story. So, yeah, why do you think I'm telling it? And like I said, this is me talking about, people who will steal your identity. And I just don't like the way that some people put it out there, that people who don't have, their own identity and so forth, like it's their fault somehow or some way. And in some instances, it could be. But this is my view. But I also want to say something about when a person who has been through something like this. Now, remember, I'm not here to give any counseling advice. I'm not saying follow my lead. I'm not saying I'm perfect in this. I don't know. I could be wrong. One size doesn't fit all. Read the disclaimer. All of that and then some. But I'm here to say, like, when you've been through something like this, and I'm telling myself this really, and have accomplished so, like some would think is so little. Okay, some would try to make people think what you've accomplished is so little. And you start to doubt it. You might start to doubt it, or you might say in a way, yeah, it's true, I haven't accomplished things like other people have accomplished, but that's their goals. Like their goals is all about making money. Okay, say that's their whole goal to what they're doing: money, prestige, all that. And yours isn't. Yours is not. But it could be like me with health conditions, sometimes not being able to do it, especially anxiety, panic, agoraphobia, or a hint to it. So it could be broken up. And there's another thing that you have to watch for when people are diagnosing or stating what is under that, saying that people who have a work history that is broken up, that then therefore they are, and they'll say something bad. No, it doesn't necessarily mean it's something bad. It could mean something like I've mentioned, health conditions. Anyway, somebody trying to say that tell you, well, you never did this, and your jobs weren't that, you didn't go for your whole career in that one field, or you changed fields, or you just didn't do that, whatever they think, make that much money or spend that much time, whatever it is that they think that is what is only good for people, what's the only right way. And that's another way they try to steal from you. They try to take your identity away from you because you moved on. Maybe you did one kind of job when you were, in your 20s, and then by the time you were in your 30s, you just decided to change. And I'm serious when I say this about women around my age, women in middle adulthood. They might totally, instead of going out and buying, the stereotypes are bad, but, a little red sports car, convertible, or get in a relationship with somebody who's much younger. Those are negative stereotypes, not a good thing about men. But instead of doing all that, they change their careers. Yeah, totally flip. Of course that's not 100% across the board, and I don't think there's any scientific research out there about that. But that's what I've seen personally. But whatever it is, this type that I have seen, they will try to tear you down. You have made no accomplishment, and they try to take away your accomplishments by adding some kind of, touch of misery to it, or just down it and make it like, oh, it was just so little, it's not even, you don't even count that. You see what I'm saying? Don't let them. Don't. That's their issue. And I know that's one of the things you can hear from childhood is don't let the bullies affect the way you look at yourself and all that. We hear it. How often does it sink in? Really, that is their problem? I don't think it does to some. It's tough to start really seeing it as that is their problem, not ours, Okay, and for some people it is, say that they're in a very abusive relationship, marriage, and that other person doesn't allow for them to work. Okay, and maybe they have, or maybe somebody has situations where they can't really work. Like I said earlier. Whatever it is, let's say, talk about a spouse who doesn't let them work. Maybe they live somewhere where there isn't that much information. They can't even get the information. They're socially isolated. They're isolated all around. And they just don't know that they think that this is what they were supposed to do, one work, one stay at home, all that. But so at some point that person, the abusive one, starts using it against them and saying, you never accomplished anything, you never did anything, you've never, you see. And that bangs at, at their identity and their, sense of self all around. Okay, seriously, this is about all around, really. Okay, and their self-esteem can be damaged by this. So many things, really. Confidence. Now, see, confidence, I see it as a bit different than I think some people, maybe most people, but I just think self-confidence is more like you do something and it's in you. It's you do something, you accomplish whatever it is that you need to, so you have that confidence. It's in there because you have met it. Kind of like if you get a certification or, you know, something through work that states you've gone through some program, or you get a degree, or you get whatever you need to be considered someone who knows, you know, a voice of authority, a authority figure, whatever, in that field, whatever it is. You've done the work. So that confidence is in you because you've done the work, you know. And it's not something you think about, really. It's not something that you say, oh, I've got to improve it. You know, the confidence itself, you got to improve what you need to do in order to have that. You know, like earn a degree or something like that. Earn another certification. Work another however many hours to make that. Get the CEUs, whatever it is. Okay, and self-esteem I think of is more along the line of where you place yourself. And with this type, these narcissistic histrionic blends, well, at least the ones I've known, they try to place me, okay? They try to put me in where a category where they think I am, which is, of course, not as high up on the ladder as they. Yeah, you know, along this line that they want to tear me down so they can, you know, step on me and lift themselves up. You know, so they'll tear at the you know, throw darts at the self-esteem. You know, and so I think some people it works. Yeah, some people it would work. I think I didn't have much notes on this one. I write them whenever I'm thinking about them. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. But this isn't all the videos I want to make on this. I'm finally doing this way, using myself. All my videos, when you watch them, and I've said this all along over these years, is that these are based on true stories, and that they're just made hypothetical, fictional. But if you look back at all those, yeah, those are more. But I'm just talking about some of the things that I really, some of it, not every video, but some of that I just wouldn't talk about in the past. So anyway, the series is probably going to be made public in order. And I might say, I think, and actually one of them I said, this is the number whatever video, but it wasn't. So don't expect perfection. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I'll talk to you on another video. Bye.